Hi everyone, this is Joyce from TLU Academic Support, and I'm here to chat with you really briefly about prepping for your midterm exams. I want to start with a few key highlights of productive studying. One of those is establishing a productive study space. I want to clarify this does not mean your bed. This is somewhere that whenever you go there, you're awake and alert and productive. Maybe it's your kitchen table or a spot in the library, but it's a space that you consistently go to get work done. Once you have that space in mind, go ahead and set up a schedule for when you're going to study for each exam. Look at how far out your exam is and how far you have between now and then. Look at what days you realistically can and cannot study, and what do you want to accomplish on those days. So don't write in your planner, study for biology. I want you to be specific and say, I will read chapters 3 and 4 of this book. In addition to that, during your study session, break it into even smaller chunks. Study for 25 minutes at a time and give yourself 5-minute breaks in between. This will give your brain a chance to recharge and refresh and will help with your focus and motivation. Make sure you set a timer so you don't go over on your breaks. And reward yourself at the end of your study sessions, or maybe at the end of the week. If you've done all of the tasks you said you would, treat yourself for that. Watch a Netflix episode, go get something from Dairy Queen. Whatever appeals to you, reward yourself for your hard work. Keep in mind that you can always go to your professor's office hours. Whether you have questions about the format of the exam, or if you have questions about your notes, something that was specifically said in class, maybe a concept you don't understand, that's the time that you can walk in and get those clarifications. Your professors are here to help you and serve you. Keep that in mind. Lastly, I challenge you to use your senses while studying. This could look like diagrams for visuals or YouTube videos for auditory. Maybe even spraying a perfume while you're studying and spraying that same scent during the exam to appeal to your smell. Look online for different ideas of how you can appeal to these senses. I also want to distinguish between passive and active studying. Whereas passive is much more robotic, you're kind of going through the motions. Active takes more effort, but it really promotes better recall, and it's going to help build those problem-solving and critical thinking skills that you need for the exam. An example of this would be, instead of just reading a textbook chapter, summarize the sections as you go through it. This is forcing you to reflect on what you've read and be able to condense and explain it in different wording. Again, instead of attending class, try making connections as you listen to the lecture. Make connections to what you already know from that class or from different classes. More examples of active, effortful studying is predicting possible questions that you'll see on the exam, taking practice tests or practice quizzes, creating diagrams or study materials, and teaching others. We're going to expand on these last 2 bullet points in the next slides. So instead of just creating diagrams, you can also create flashcards, practice tests, flip books, foldables, formula sheets, anything that will help you in your studying. Don't solely rely on what the instructor provides, but go ahead and create tools that you will also find useful and helpful as you study. And you're not limited to tactile resources. There's a vast array of resources online, and I only have a few listed here. There's more listed on our Instagram, and there's even more with just a quick Google search. The ones that I want to highlight, I'm sure you've heard of most of them. One is Quizlet. For flashcards, you can see study sets that other users have made, and you can even add in your own images for your flashcards or your own diagrams. Khan Academy and Crash Course, I'm sure you've heard of. Those will both have short little lessons that might help supplement your lecture or clarify anything that still isn't making sense while you're studying. I also suggest the Tide app, It has white noise and background music that you can use while studying. It has a built-in timer, and it even does data outputs at the end of your study sessions. It will tell you how productive you were and how long you studied for, and you can track that over time. Another great resource is establishing a study group. I just mentioned that teaching others is a form of active studying. So if you're feeling a little bit stronger in your content, you can teach others not only to assist them, but to help reinforce your foundation and your understanding of the material. If you're feeling a little bit weaker in the subject, that's okay. You can use a study group or utilize a study group to hear it from someone else in your class instead of your instructor. Hearing it in different wording or hearing how other people are remembering the concepts may give you a way to remember and understand it. It is important to note, though, that participation is necessary. Can you imagine if you took all of this time to make these study resources, you set up a study group, you got everything prepared just for you to arrive and your friend would rather watch a movie? Or maybe you arrive and your friend would rather just take pictures of all the work that you did. It's really not going to benefit them and their learning, and it's not going to benefit you either. Find members in your class that are committed to success and to studying the same way that you are. Then take the initiative and invite them to a study group. Whether it's in person or on Zoom, find a way to let them know, hey, I'm going to study at this time. I would love if you would join me. Go ahead and make the Zoom link or the Teams link and share it with them. Or give them a time and a place of where you would like to meet them. Maybe you'll stay after class one day and y'all can chat about a certain concept. Whatever it is, go ahead and take the leadership. Go ahead and set up that study group. Okay, so you've gone through all of the hard work. You've studied, you made your materials. You're feeling pretty good, right? The day of the exam comes. And now we're going to talk about how that day should look. For the morning, this is the time that you can refresh and review any key concepts or any concepts that just aren't sticking. You still can't get them down. I want to make it very clear, this should not be the first time you see this material. This is purely for reviewing. I also encourage you to plan to arrive or log on early. We all know how easy it is for something to happen to our car, or you turn on your computer and it has an update. There's always going to be those unexpected inconveniences. So go ahead and give yourself time for those to pop up. You don't want to lose any time from your exam. Lastly, I want you to try and avoid sugar and caffeine the morning of the exam. These can really heighten our anxiety and they can make us jittery. Instead, I want you to opt for a high protein meal, such as eggs and bacon, or a smoothie made with Greek yogurt and fruit. Protein or high protein meals have been associated with increased concentration, and I would prefer for you to go through an exam with that as opposed to going through an exam feeling nervous or jittery. At the start of your exam, I suggest that you complete a brain dump. Write down what you know or write down what you're worried about forgetting. This is your way of creating a little cheat sheet so that as you go through the exam, you have a reference tool to use. I would also suggest that you scan the test before starting. Look at how many points everything is worth. Whatever is worth the most points, you either want to start there or make sure that you leave enough time to answer that fully so that you don't lose those points. It's hard to admit, but focus on yourself. I know we see everyone else getting up at some point during the test and we feel rushed to finish. But you have to remember that we are all unique. We're all unique learners and test takers. So do what's best for you. And lastly, as you go through, mark any questions that you're unsure of, put a little star by them, and come back to them at the end so that you're not losing time dwelling on that question. If you have any essay or short answer questions, make sure you write clearly so that you don't lose points just because it couldn't be read. Answer all parts of the prompt. After you finish writing, go back, read that prompt again, and read your response. Make sure your response answers everything and that it makes sense. As you're writing your response, I suggest that you leave lines or leave space between your lines so that when you go back to edit and proofread, you have room to add in any additional thoughts that you may have. And after the exam, most importantly, double check everything. If there's any questions that are blank, go ahead and answer those if you won't be penalized for a wrong answer. And if you use a Scantron, compare your test questions to your Scantron answers. Make sure that everything is bubbled in correctly. Make sure you have this time at the end of your exam to proofread, double check, so that you don't lose any points for careless mistakes. I know that that was a lot coming at you really quickly, but if you have any more questions or if you want more resources, I encourage you to go to our academic support page on the portal. You'll go to the Student Life tab at the top and then the Academic Support tab on the left. Not only do we have more workshops on time management and stress management and the like, we also have the SI and CLA schedules here, and you'll also see the contact information for you to get in touch with the Director of Academic Support. You can schedule one-on-one meetings or ask us any questions via email that you may have. Please keep in mind that we are here to support you, okay? And no question is too big or too small. We are here to help. Just let us know whatever you need, whatever questions you have. Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.